Stories told about the current Amshin of a Rebbe. One year the Rebbe was sitting with his followers enjoying the Sudah HaMafseket, the meal right before Yom Kippur begins. Time was passing, and the Amshin of a Rebbe and his Hasidim were enjoying and singing and very present in this holy meal. But the Hasidim noticed that the hour was getting very late. Yom Kippur was about to start. It was almost time for Kol Nidre, and they were sitting, still eating the meal. But the Rebbe blissfully continued eating, unaware, not knowing what to do. They finally asked one of the oldest Hasidim to say something to the Rebbe. The fast was about to begin. Gently, the Chassid approached the Rebbe and he said, Rebbe, ziz spät. Rebbe, it's late. The Rebbe looked at his watch. He said, ziz taka spät. It is truly late. But, the Rebbe said, a Jew must have two watches. One watch says, ziz spät, and the other watch must say, ziz genug Zeit. There's still time. I identify a lot with the Hasidim of the Rebbe approaching Yom Kippur. I always feel like it's late. I'm always running late. There's so much I want to do. There's so much tshuva. There's so much learning. I make lists of people I need to call. I think about things I need to work on. I need to make apologies. I never feel like I'm going to finish it all. And yet somehow each year, once Kol Nidre begins, I get that feeling a little bit. Ziz genug Zeit. There's still time descends on me. And Yom Kippur becomes, for me, a long, almost luxurious day. Yom Kippur helps me turn into a two-watch Jew. You know, in the davening we're going to recite together, whether in our in-person services or at home, but we'll be reciting it together. In that davening, there's a fascinating story in the Yom Kippur Musaf that underscores and deepens the Rebbe's point about being a two-watch Jew. Right after we finish the Avodah, the temple service of the high priest, we read Eila Ezkara, a poem about 10 martyrs who were murdered by the Romans. And this selection, Eila Ezkara, is meant to have us reflect on our own lives and the sacrifices that were made on our behalf for Jewish life to continue over thousands of years. One of the rabbis who was martyred was Rav Chanina ben Tradion. The Romans had decreed that the Jews were not allowed to teach Torah publicly. But Rav Chanina would not be deterred. He continued teaching. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah tells us, Haya Yoshev v'osek b'Torah, v'sefer Torah munach b'cheko. He would sit and engage publicly in Torah with the Torah scroll resting in his bosom. A beautiful image. Word got out to the Romans that Rav Chanina was still publicly teaching and he was captured. And the Gemara then tells us about a particularly wicked klatstoniri. Klatstoniri, in Latin, the questionarius. The questionarius was a Roman interrogator, torturer, and executioner. His job was to ask the questions and then devise the wicked, most painful, most evil forms of torture and death possible. And this one was particularly cruel. And when he captured Rav Chanina, he had him wrapped in a Torah scroll. And then they set branches of wood around him, and they lit the branches and the scroll and Rav Chanina on fire. And in order to cause even more suffering and pain, the questionarius took pieces of wool and wet them, placed them in water, and then put them on Rav Chanina, so as to delay his death and cause him even more suffering. The rabbi's students said, Rabbi, please, just breathe in the fire. Give up. Don't subject yourself to this horrible torture and suffering. Rav Chanina refused. He maintained his dignity in spite of the most horrific torture possible. The students asked him, Rabbi, what do you see? Rav Chanina gave one of the most beautiful replies in Shas. He said, Amar lahen gilyon nisrafim ve'otziot parachot. Rav Chanina said, the parchment is burning, but the letters of the Torah are soaring upwards. Then, suddenly, the story takes a very dramatic turn. the wicked questionarius, the executioner, who's watching Rav Chanina suffer, who's watching his martyrdom, who's watching his holiness and his purity. He cries out and he says, Rabbi. He calls Rav Chanina Rabbi. He says, Rabbi, im ani marbe b'shalhevet v'notel sifugim shel tzemer alivcha, atam mevi'eni l'chaye olam haba. He says, Rabbi, if I stop your suffering, if I take away the wet wool, I increase the flames, if I let you die quickly, will you bring me to the world to come? Rav Chanina said, hey, yes, I will. The questionarius says, Hishbali, promise me. Nishbalo, Rav Chanina vowed, said, yes, I will take you. Miyad, harbeh b'shalhevet v'natal sifugin shel tzemer ma'al libo. Right away the questionarius increased the flames, removed the wet wool. Yatza nishmato b'mehera. And quickly Rav Chanina passed away. No more suffering. Afu kafatz v'nafal l'toch ha'or. And then the questionarius jumped into the flames, following Rav Chanina, and died. Yatza bat kol. A voice from heaven came out. V'amra. Rabbi Chanina ben Trajion v'klatztoniri mizumninhen l'chay olam haba. The rabbi and the executioner are both welcome in the world to come. Rabbi, the great sage who was watching this unfold, suddenly wept. He started crying. And he said, how is this possible? How could this executioner, who has been so wicked his whole life, how could he get olam haba so quickly? Yesh koneh olamo b'shah achat. You can acquire the world to come in 1 hour? The answer, yes. I love this story. I love the piety of Rav Chanina. I love the inspiration of the questionarius, the passion. And I'm also very troubled by it. I want to weep with Rabbi. Really? You could be a horrible human being your whole life, and then 1 second turn it all around and get olam haba? Is that fair? Is that real tshuva? What about all the pain and suffering the questionarius caused for so many innocent people? What about his victims and their families? Do we really believe tshuva works like this? Do we believe that ziz genugat zeit, there's always time to do tshuva? Or do we believe like Rabbi, ziz speit, it's too late? Perhaps to really be successful at tshuva, the teaching of the Amshin of a Rabbi and the teaching of this Gemara is that we have to wear both watches. We have to wear the watch that tells us for tshuva, ziz speit, it's late. You need to work. You may not have enough time. It's the tshuva of Rabbi where he says in that Gemara, Yesh koneh olamo bekama shanim. There are those who have to spend years and years and years to acquire the world to come. It's the tshuva of the Rambam, who writes out 4 deliberate, hard steps that you have to take if you want to do real tshuva. Regret, charata, abandonment, aziva, confession, vidui, resolve, kabbalah. Real work. Long, hard, slow, deliberate work. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And we also need the tshuva of the questionarius. The tshuva of ziz genugat zeit, remembering there's still time. It's a kind of almost instant tshuva, where it doesn't matter what I've done, or where I've been, or what I've been up to until this very moment. And as long as I know what's right, and I throw myself in 100%, the tshuva's real. And there's always time. Now look, there are obvious deficiencies in this kind of instant tshuva. It doesn't address all the harm the executioner did. This kind of tshuva could even be used to justify bad behavior. I'll act improperly now, and later I'll jump in and do tshuva. And if you note in the Gemara, right after he does this tshuva, he dies. Why does he die? I bet it's because he probably couldn't sustain that level of tshuva in the rest of his everyday life. We all have moments of true spiritual passion and inspiration, and those moments are very real. But that doesn't mean that those moments will last. Doesn't mean they'll translate into action tomorrow, or next month, or next year. But I also want to suggest the tshuva of Rebbe is lacking too. There's a danger in only allowing ourselves to do the hard tshuva, of using only that model, the Rambam, Rabbi, Zishpeit. It can get us down. It can remind us of all the things that are wrong and all the work we have to do, and we can stop from doing the work. I've shared this with the community before, but in my machzor, I have 10 pieces of paper. This year it'll be 11. Each paper is a list of the various wrongdoings, character traits, things about myself that I'm not happy about, that I'm working on for this coming year. I've kept them for the last 10 years. If you open up my Yom Kippur machzor, they're all there. And guess what? The list has only grown. I've crossed off maybe one or two things over 10 years, and I've added many more. Now, if I just look at that list, I'll think I've failed. The same things appear year after year. More things are added to the list every year, and I could grow very discouraged. I know that I can never fix all the wrongs that I've committed. I know that I can never fully fix all the character flaws that I have. I can never repair every single hurt that I've done. I can't take back all the things I shouldn't have said or that I failed to say. It's literally impossible. It would be lifetimes. So why try? I could just give up. You know, I am who I am. I did some good. I did some bad. That's what it is. End of story. No need to do the work. That's what solely a focus of Zishpeit, solely a focus of the lateness, solely a focus of Rebbe might do to us. So then a complete tshuva, a holistic tshuva, is the tshuva of both Rebbe and the executioner. Rebbe and the executioner. A tshuva that's both inspired and passionate and in the moment, and also coupled with deliberate, hard work. This year, I want to suggest that we lean a little bit extra into the tshuva of the questionarius. We lean a little extra into Ziz Genuge Zeit, reminding ourselves there's still time. Time has been funny this year. Many have said it feels like it's moving very slowly. They can't wait for 2020 to finally be over. And over the last year, I think a lot of us have had time to ruminate on how we could be better, things we might have messed up. And many of us might even be feeling stuck. We might be feeling, there's nothing I can do, I can't go anywhere, everything's closed, everything takes so much effort. Why bother? Why bother to change? Why bother to work? Why bother to grow? I just need to kind of wait until it's all over. You might be feeling stuck. You might be feeling uninspired. It's very natural. You might be feeling like it's too late. Zishpeit. It's too late in a relationship or in a career or in life to make a positive change. Normally, we would have a full day of Yom Kippur, of singing majestic melodies, of the power of hundreds gathered around us, praying and weeping and crying out. And that would fill us with religious passion. And that would inspire us to say, Ziz Genuge Zeit, there's still time to make a change. This year, we're not going to have some of those sources of religious passion and inspiration. It's going to be different, which is why we need to work extra hard to cultivate fiery, passionate tshuva. If we can't be inspired by someone else, we have to inspire ourselves to jump into the fire and to make a positive change. Let the story of the questionarius remind you, there's always still time. If businesses or gyms or restaurants are closed, doesn't matter. Your heart, your neshama, God is always open for business. This year has also taught us how quickly things can change. COVID has taught us how quickly things can change and the preciousness of each and every moment. I know someone, a friend, who had a very good and also complicated relationship with a parent who lived in a different place. There was deep love and affection and respect, and yet certain things also went unsaid in the relationship and were unresolved. And this person knew that they wanted to work through those issues with that parent, but it never was the right time. And then suddenly, the parent was diagnosed with COVID and died 3 days later. And the child wasn't able to say goodbye, wasn't able to make those resolutions. This year has taught us, don't wait to say the things that need to be said. Say them now. Apologize to the person you need to apologize to. Reconnect with the family or friend whom you've been estranged from. Take the next step in Jewish observance you've been meaning to take. Don't let worries about what might happen in the future stop you from doing what you need to do right now. At the end of the Yom Kippur davening, we say, Hayom, Hayom, Hayom. Today, today, today. This year I would suggest we should sing Sha'ah, Sha'ah, Sha'ah. Every hour, every moment to moment to moment. We need to remember the words of Rabbi, who after witnessing the tshuva of the executioner said, Yesh konet olamo b'sha'a achat. One can redeem their whole life in just 1 hour, in just one moment. We can make an hour worth a lifetime. Make your hours into lifetimes. Put that hour into your learning. Put that hour into your growth. Put that hour into your physical health. Put that hour into a Zoom call. Put in the hours and see how they might change your world. All it takes is to recognize what's truly important in life, what I want my life to really be about, and then, like that questionarius, to jump in. Do it now. Ziz spät. It's late. Do it now. Ziz genug Zeit. There's still time.